Powerful Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The final work of the legendary Akira Toriyama is finally here. It's time to look at the very first episode of Dragon Ball Daima. 2024 has been an interesting year to be a fan of the Dragon Ball franchise. I mean, we can't talk about this series without talking about the passing of Akira Toriyama, an absolute legend in his field who created arguably the most popular anime and manga series of all time, that being Dragon Ball. And when they announced that they were going to do a brand new anime project, I have to admit, like a lot of people, I was really apprehensive because I wanted a little bit more of Dragon Ball Super. There are a number of arcs which have yet to be animated. However, at the same time, this is a Dragon Ball project which was being headed by the creator of the series itself, which gave me a lot of hope, and I told myself that I was going to reserve my judgments when I watched the series when it was released, and it has just released, and I have to say that almost all of my fears are completely out the window. This is pure Dragon Ball. And not only is it pure Dragon Ball, it's all gas, no brakes. This is everything that you could potentially want from a Dragon Ball project, being a great combination of both humor, action, and intrigue. Basically what I'm trying to say is, I think the first episode of Dragon Ball Daima is pretty freaking incredible. My history with Dragon Ball is a story as old as time. I grew up when it was airing on Toonami back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I remember always running home after school to catch the latest episode. That's where I got hooked into the Dragon Ball franchise. I then watched Dragon Ball GT, I consumed the manga, I played the video games. Basically, I became a hardcore Dragon Ball fan. They brought back Dragon Ball Super years later. Absolutely loved that, and it just makes me so happy to know that this franchise has been going on for so long, and with love and affection from everybody who has had a hand in creating it, voicing the characters, and bringing it to the world. And that's really why I'm just so excited to sit down and watch some brand new Dragon Ball material. And while it might not be a direct continuation of the events of Super, it's giving us what I think is going to be, ultimately, a really fun story. Now, the biggest, most contentious thing about Dragon Ball Daima that everybody's been talking about is the fact that it seems to be taking a page from Dragon Ball GT, in a sense that they're taking that storyline of taking one of our characters and turning them into a younger version of themselves, where in GT it was Goku who became young. Now it looks like it's going to be the entire primary cast, and I can't wait to see what sort of effect that's going to have on the rest of this story, as we don't really get to see that fully unfold in the first episode of the series. We are, however, introduced to a ton of new characters, in particular our brand new villains, a new king of the demon realm who goes by the name of Goma, this short, diminutive little clown-looking fella, and he's also accompanied by two Kaioshin, or Supreme Kais, who basically seem to be related to Shin himself, one of them going by the name of Degesu, and the other one going by the name of Dr. Arinsu. And their introduction feels distinctly Dragon Ball, not so much Z, GT, or Super. It's got like this sort of like fun air about it, which I really love, and it definitely feels like something that was written by Akira Toriyama. But what I really love about this is that this basically takes place right after the end of the Kid Buu Saga. Kid Buu had been defeated, Goku and his friends have come together, they celebrated, they saved the Earth, and it looks like things are going to be nice and peachy for everybody, except for everyone who's currently watching in the demon realm. And that's what I really loved about this. It truly did feel kind of like the next continuation of everything that would happen directly after that arc, especially because the character of Deborah I always felt was kind of interesting. While he was a Majin under Babidi's control, his main backstory is that he was king of the demon realm, and we've seen the demon realm a few times in the series, but we haven't spent a lot of time there, and we're finally getting to learn a little bit more about how it actually works. And after the death of King Deborah, we got to see that one of his underlings, who goes by the name of Goma, the weird little clown dude, has essentially become the new ruler of the demon realm, and basically they want to take control of everything. And of course that's going to involve a convoluted plot of gathering the Dragon Balls and transforming what could be their greatest threat and enemies into younger kid versions of themselves. And this is interesting for a number of reasons. One, Goma himself seems to know about the existence of the Dragon Balls, and that's because apparently in in the Demon Realm, they seem to have their very own Dragon Balls, and I was thinking, well, why don't they just use those? Well, apparently, the Demon Realm Dragon Balls are actually being protected by these giant warriors who go by the name of the Tamigamis, and I don't know how strong they're actually going to be, but the implication is you don't want to mess with these guys. And then it begs another question, how are these Dragon Balls even created in the Demon Realm in the first place? Apparently, there's a Namek who happens to live there, an old Namek who goes by the name of Neva or Neva, and he is not your typical Namek. He seems to be very powerful and seems to have a lot of influence in terms of using magic and even power over the Dragon Balls themselves, because Goma, Degasu, and Neva decide to actually go to Earth themselves to find the Dragon Balls, and Neva is able to use his power to essentially just immediately summon all of them, and even able to restore power back to them after they've just been recently used. Neva is a pretty interesting Namek, and at first he seems like he might not be anything all that dangerous or even much of a threat, but there is the potential for this character to end up being sort of an evil Namek character, which I can't wait to see, because I just don't necessarily see Goma being like the real main major threat of Daima. We still could be seeing a lot of development to who the true villain of this entire series is going to be, but their overall introduction is great. It's equal parts Bobbity and Emperor Pilaf. They seem like the perfect combination of those characters in terms of what they're actually going for with them, and as someone who really loves the original Dragon Ball and everything that followed, I really like that. I think the tone is absolutely perfect. I also love that we even have some massive revelations, like the fact that the Nameks themselves might have originally been from the Demon Realm itself, and we've already seen plenty of clues to this in the past, just the fact that, of course, King Piccolo was known as Demon King Piccolo, and of course the implication that if you have pointy ears of any kind, apparently you're just from the Demon Realm. But essentially, at its core, this entire episode is kind of a recap of the major events of the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball series. We get to see that Goma and Degasu in the Demon Realm are actually looking at all of the events that happened in the Majinn Buu Saga, and I really love that they just straight up reanimated all of these scenes, and they look really good. If I may just take a moment to talk about the production value of this episode, it is top notch. It's not the best thing that I've ever seen, but when you compare it to, say, Dragon Ball Z or even Dragon Ball Super, it looks really, really good. It's got kind of like its very own style to it, while still sort of honoring the look of those characters and the feel of things that we've actually seen in the past. And I love the look of the Demon Realm. They definitely put a lot of work into it to make it look really large and interesting, kind of scary, but also very exciting to actually explore. The overall look of Goma's castle and where they live, and where apparently Deborah and even his father, who I think goes by the name of Abora, who we never really got to see, they got to rule this giant palace, and it looked really freaking great. Even when we just look at the flashbacks and reanimated scenes, it makes me want to see a complete and total remake of Dragon Ball Z in this same exact style. It looks that good, and I can't wait to see more of what we're going to see in terms of the action here. And if you were hoping for a little action, there is a small scene towards the end where we do get to see Goku and Vegeta having a sparring match. It's absolutely classic. We get to see great techniques from the characters, your Gallic guns, your Kamehameha blasts, and of course a big beam clash at the very end. This all culminates at the very end of the episode when Goma, Degasu, and Neva arrive at the lookout, where they take the Dragon Balls and make their wish to turn all of their enemies into young versions of themselves, and that's really where the series is going to kick into high gear. This episode right here basically is just setting it up to prepare us for what this entire series is going to be about, introducing us to some of the brand new villainous characters that are going to appear, and of course, it also just brings up a lot of questions. What I will say, however, is that I am pumped for the rest of Dragon Ball Daima at this point. It seems, like I said, to be the perfect mixture of that original feeling of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which I really love. I really love when the series can honor the fact that it started out as a gag manga series. It's supposed to be funny at times. Just look at these characters. They're basically cartoon characters. We gotta have fun with this, but we're also still going to get our classic action from the series. But really, I'm also just excited about all of these new characters. The fact that apparently in the Demon Realm, there are Kaioshin who are related to the ones from the outside world. The implication being that Degasu and his sister Arinsu are actually related to Shin, the Supreme Kai. That's a pretty interesting detail, and I can't wait to see ultimately what it's going to lead to. And of course, the fact that we now know that the Demon Realm has its very own form of Dragon Balls, I can't wait to see what sort of special abilities they are going to have, what the dragon itself is going to look like, not to mention these warriors that protect it. How strong are they really going to be? I think it's going to be a great opportunity for our characters to team up and utilize their brand new bodies and abilities to take these guys down. But they also managed to take the time to introduce some other characters, such as this other shadowy demon who is waiting in the wings, who is watching Goma and Degasu as they're planning their big plot. And like I said, just there's a lot of little things about the Demon Realm that just really excite me in this episode. Like, I just love how the entire realm is, of course, ruled by a king, but it doesn't really matter much because every single time you gotta leave, the entire place is monitored and protected by what is basically a giant mechanical fish monster that is able to transport you to different parts of the world and multiple universes. The Demon Realm itself is going to be a really great location to explore because, again, like I said, we haven't really spent a lot of time here, and I have a feeling they're going to do some really fun stuff with it, and they're going to bring up some brand new rules, they're going to switch some things up. I'm just really excited for Dragon Ball Daima. I cannot make it any clearer than that. The first episode got me really excited as a fan of the franchise, and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and I also didn't expect to laugh and smile as much as I did while actually watching the episode. It just gave me that good classic Dragon Ball feeling. I really did enjoy it. And again, while I would like to see the continuation of, say, Dragon Ball Super, whether they decide to do the Moro arc, the Granola arc, or anything beyond that, I'm pretty satisfied with everything that we're actually getting here, and it is worth mentioning that the first episode is a very meaty experience. It's a good 30-minute episode. Again, most of it is dedicated to recap and getting the viewer up to speed on the things that happened in the previous arc of the series, but it takes a lot of time in developing its brand new characters, its heroes, its villains, and I can't honestly wait to see what they're going to do, because I can't quite pick out of the lineup who is going to be the ultimate threat here. I mean, like I said, there's something about that Namek that gives me a weird feeling. Obviously, Dr. Arinsu, the sister of Degasu, seems like she's got her very own ulterior motives. Degasu might be doing his own thing, and for all we know, Goma is going to somehow become incredibly powerful. Again, wishing for those characters to become children was not his only thing. He also has a couple of extra wishes, which I'm sure are going to come into play in the next episode of the series. But this one right here, like I said, if I could describe it in just one word, it is classic. And not only that, but it manages to look really good the entire time, which is something that I was very afraid about, because I loved Dragon Ball Super. I think it has some amazing moments, but there are definitely some parts of that show that just look booty cheeks. It just looks bad, but this looked consistently good the entire time, both in artwork, terms of animation, the speed, the impact of the characters, the wacky fun designs, the look of the Demon Realm, even the look of the classic characters, which have been oh so slightly updated, but are also instantly recognizable to fans of the franchise. This, my friends, is a wish from the dragon itself. It's a brand new Dragon Ball anime series that if you're a fan of the franchise, you most definitely need to check out. I loved this episode. I'm sure I'm going to make some more Dragon Ball Daima videos down the line. I would like to review the entire series. I might do some videos on the individual characters as well, because I have a lot to say and I just don't have a lot of time to say it. But I just had to give my thoughts about the very first episode of Dragon Ball Daima, which for me gets the highest recommendation, especially for longtime Dragon Ball fans. So make sure to check it out. Right now is a great time to be a fan of Dragon Ball, guys. Not only did this episode drop today, but we also got the official release of the brand new game, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which as soon as I'm done with this review and everything, I'm getting ready to go play that. I am going to be playing on PSN. There is a possibility in the next couple weeks, if you guys want to, play against me, I might make a video about that as well. I think that would be really fun. I want to talk more about Dragon Ball Daima. I'm excited for the eventual return of the Dragon Ball Super manga, and maybe after the success of Dragon Ball Daima, these games and all this other stuff, maybe we will get that continuation of Dragon Ball Super in anime form. For now, I'm tuned in, I'm excited, I'm here every week for this. This is the best time to be a fan of the series, and it absolutely honors Akira Toriyama's legacy in the best way possible. Huge recommendation, 5 out of 5 for me, 10 out of 10, check it out. I really loved this episode, but your thoughts may differ. I would love to hear all of your thoughts about the very first episode of Dragon Ball Daima in the comments section below. What did you think of the very first episode of this brand new series, the introduction of some brand new villains, some brand new lore things which are getting introduced in the series, and what do you hope to see from the rest of Dragon Ball Daima? Let's talk about it. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.